I want mommy, I want milk, I want to be held and comforted, and if you don't do all these things immediately, I will ruin your life with another Curse Mojo. And today, we're taking a look at the top 10 Christian jail arts. After being arrested for the incest of her mother, Christian was allowed to draw for many of her followers, with the art being spread to multiple people, and continuing some of the storylines, such as the dimensional merge and other scenarios. And the question on everyone's mind is, which one's the best? Before I start, I will refer to Christian by she/her pronouns. I know it might be controversial to some, and I could make an in-depth spiel about identification or whatever, but I'll just be simple and say that Christian supports Ted Bundy. And if that doesn't make her a woman, specifically Caucasian, then I don't know what is. That should be good enough, right? We're only going to look at the pictures made publicly throughout their year and a half in custody, regardless of whom it was made for. They are also not the pictures you see here. Number 10. Sonic Adventure. Starting off with a simple image. For some reason, Chris decided to make a few pictures of Sonic Adventure 1, which is pretty amusing because the first issue of Sonichu took place in the same game. And this picture just so happens to be the first of the jail images. I imagine that she really wanted to play that game instead of being in custody. Maybe she was getting around to before she got arrested. Number 9. Donnie Sonichu. So this is a pretty odd one, partly for lore reasons. Issue 13 showed all the Chaotic Combo team highly corrupted by some of the other trolls. And other than Magi-chan, we don't really see a lot of them afterwards, which gives an impression that the characterization stuck. Not only that, Chris creates a lot more Sonichu characters that not a lot of people care about, like Val Sonichu. These tie together with Donnie Sonichu, who is the offspring of Bubbles and Blake, which to me confirms the old characterizations are properly back. Though there are other pictures of Chaotic Combo characters being normal, or whatever you call this, but I feel this new character solidified is the best. So it's good to know that Jail uncorrupted her fictional characters. Yeah. Number 8. Sylvana Explains It All. One very common and frustrating trend in the Sonichu comics are the giant text dumps. Chris has a lot to say, but very little literacy, not being able to shorten or illustrate what to be said. Not only that, but some of her planned issues at the time also involved clearing up, or maybe adding more, of the many retcons in the comic. Chris used it as a chance to have the characters explain the lore of the Sonichu story, as well as some of the characters' origins. Sylvana is even more amusing because a casual viewer could have this as a good jumping off point to understand the madness they missed out on. Number 7. The Sonichu Village. This one is more canon wielding, because you see, Sonichu and Rosechu are technically a species of Pokemon, meaning that more are implied to exist. A common trope within the collectible monster genre, where Pokemon and Digimon appear to be special and relevant to the plot, but at the same time, they have to be species. So there's multiple Mewtwo's and Myotismon walking around. And this picture finally shows those implications in full force, where Sanju and Rosechu see a village of their own kind. Number 6. Bar Detail. Christian's art has not improved, even after years of making comics. If I were to be nice, I will say that Sonichu specifically are better drawn and more presentable, but that's really it. Everything else is just bad. There are a few pictures where Chris tries to draw landscapes in different perspectives, but it comes off very amateurish. But there is one picture that is very amusing, of one of the new hangouts in Crickville, the Flash Zap Bar and Grill. Being a little more simplistic than the other pictures, the main focus is Christian Sonichu doing a stupid dance. But there's a lot of attention to detail, and attempts to make a very good background image. That is somewhat admirable. Now, it's not saying much, but for Chris specifically, it says a lot. Although I should note that throughout Christian's history, they really hated alcohol, but I'm pretty sure that's out the window by this point. Number 5. Pen work. So as I'm sure you could tell, Chris's main supplies are just a simple pen and paper. Pens are mostly known to write things, unlike a pencil which is more versatile. It's also quite odd because Chris will have blue pens, so sometimes when she draws her personal OC or Sonic the Hedgehog, she will color them in. Really missing the Crayola markers by now. I know from personal experience that pens can smell very uncomfortable when you use them long enough. So it was amusing knowing that and seeing these pictures having a lot of dark coloring on certain places. And number 5, we'll go to this picture, which presents a female Magi-chan or something floating in space, where the background is covered in so much pen ink that I'm pretty sure Chris lost tons of brain cells just by coloring it. And what's so amusing about these images is that you don't really need to do it, like it's just unnecessary busy work. These pens are not made to fill in backgrounds. You can just leave in a bunch of stars and people will get it. And you can draw Christian Sonichu normally. It's fine. You're just wasting time. Oh, okay, maybe I guess that's why. But you're still wasting ink. Like, did jail give Chris unlimited supplies of pens? You'd think she would be in some limited amount, but apparently not, because there's a lot of images here. Like, is this some ACAB flex on the police or something? Number 4, the GameStop ad. Probably one of the most lighthearted of all these pictures. It's a video game ad, but Chris breaks the fourth wall, supposedly coming out of a monitor. And this feels like one of those old adverts or skits from the original Sonichu comic. But again, it's far more awkward considering the whole context, even though it feels like the same old Sonichu. Number 3, talking with the creator of Charlie Brown. Chris Chan still believes in the dimensional merge, now more than ever, and her later work would involve the Peanuts characters. And here's another picture of Chris Chan telling Charlie Brown and friends that they'll eventually exist. Apparently, this was done to celebrate the creator, Charlie Schultz's, birthday at the time. I guess they were an inspiration, though I like to think that one of the guards just said they liked Peanuts as a way to humor her or something. But the most odd and bizarre of these pictures includes a picture of Chris Chan talking with Schultz. Now, this is just a drawing, but Chris has a very odd mentality when it comes to people who passed away, including her father and the beloved Ted Bundy. She's probably thinks she's talking to the real Schultz in some dimensional whatever. Number 2, Pride interview. This image is probably the most ironic, where Chris Chan talks to the news about the subject of Pride months, saying that pride is not a sin, but arrogance is. Now, that may not seem bad on its own, but hey, remember when Chris Chan decided to call themselves God or Jesus shortly after being arrested? Well, that has stuck. So throughout many of these pictures, especially this one, Chris has had the name Jesus Christine Chandler, all while talking about pride and arrogance. It's just so blatant. I know it's Pride Month and there's different connotations, but it's still pretty amusing. And another thing that's pretty strange about this image is that there seems to be a Ukraine flag, okay, fair enough, but due to the odd coloring choices, the pride flag in the background accidentally looks like one of those blue line police flags. Whoops. I guess it was supposed to be a progress flag, but she fucked it up and got the design all wrong. I guess she didn't know what the flag actually looked like, and I don't think the police have one lying around because, you know, it's the police. Another amusing oddity was including Christian YouTuber Jibby in a picture in the corner reacting to the video, with Christian's full-on endorsement. And now for honorable mentions, a picture that appears very similar to an issue cover showing Christian in space, though without all the ink. I guess she has enough restraint not to ruin the image entirely. A picture of Christian being smited by God himself, the exact opposite of the other one. A response to the downfall of Kiwi Farms, so yeah, that happened, it's back. And a conversation with Christine and her older self, where the old Chris compliments how hot their future self is. Jesus fucking Christ, Chris. And number 1, hugging themselves. It is probably the most simplistic and telling of the images, where Christian's hugging her OC with the tagline, happiness is just a hug away, even if you're hugging yourself. I don't think I need to explain why this is so notable. And it's one of the earliest pictures too, where it's starting to sink in that Chris is a little doomed. Or at least at the time. And it's definitely worthy for number 1 on this list, despite being the less detailed and most spacious. So I hope you enjoyed this video of ranking a sex offender's drawings. What do you think about Val Sonichu? Let us know in the comments, and I'm gonna go rethink my life and forget about it in a few hours. If you want, you can see some of my other content. I do some other lolcow top 10s, and some less controversial content like old YouTubers, and reviews on obscure games that aren't technically games. Have a nice day, and I hope to see you soon.